town, given both what's gone on 125 by Bird and Wolf, what's going on in Avalon, what's going in at the Knights of Columbus. So the demand for housing, I think, has shifted from where it was over a year ago in the town. I mean, at what point do we say, there's always going to be demand, but I feel like the demand where we were a year ago is different than where it is today, given the projects that are ongoing. That would be my only comment.
I think you can make a case
so that's a good question. I would say that Avalon and the Columbus. Okay. I'd just say that Avalon and the Knights of Columbus haven't built yet. So although they're in the process, they're not finished.
Well, it's kind of like splitting hairs, saying they haven't been built yet. The foundations are in and the walls are up.
So maybe the housing trust.
Eitan, you're breaking up a little bit, just so you know. So maybe shift and then we'll come back to you.
And I would just say specific to this goal, I think it's calling out senior demand and affordable demand, where those developments that you're referencing are not affordable. They're market rate developments. And we did recently confirm that the Princeton property development had only 4 vacant units in the model home, and Berry Farms was at 98% occupied. And so in terms of market demand, I mean, it's certainly with those types of occupancy rates seems to be that the demand is still there. Now, will Avalon and Minco absorb that demand? I mean, the Rural Crest Development's coming forward with their market analysis to say the demand's there.
Just throwing it out there as a
Fair question.
No, understood.
Let's put it this way. I'll ask the group. I mean, and given the points that Holly is raising, are others on the committee? Does someone on the committee want to make a motion to change this rating from positive to something other than positive, or write in the notes something or add different context to the notes here? Is there something that needs to be done to change this at all?
I would,
what Holly raised.
I would go with Jean's point, which is senior and affordable housing is what we're talking about here. It hasn't changed. So,
okay.
I would agree with Stan on that.
Okay. All right. So in the spirit of moving along, I'm not trying to cut things off. I just want to make sure we're moving along swiftly. So unless anybody objects, I'll keep going. All right. Continue to review the impact of new housing development on the town's public infrastructure and services. So in this one, we said at that time in progress. Now, actually, a lot's been done since then. The town commissioned a sewer analysis.
Yep.
We also, and which, without getting into the finer grain detail, and I can allow Jean or Eitan to expand on this, but basically, material, the negative impact on this. I apologize. I missed. And we also had an update to our watershed plan, which doesn't tell you anything about the future per se, but it does tell you that right now our water supply is in a healthy state.
Right. Yep.
All the housing that's been built up to this point has not affected it. There have been traffic studies. The development agreement calls for continued study of traffic and pedestrian monitoring so that if issues arise in the future as a result of the project going up, that mitigation would be in place.
Have studies been done for safety in schools?
So there
fire, police in school capacities?
Yes. We've taken an extensive look at the any potential impact on schools, so there's basically none.
So, but the study, I mean, for this goal, it's whether the studies have been done. So the answer is yes to both of those.
Yes,
the
studies have been done.
This is so I guess what I would say is on this one, I'm going to highlight this strategy, and what I would suggest is that whether it's me or Jean or somebody, I think we should revise it to reflect the updates that have been made as far as examining these issues, and then you guys should vote on that at the next meeting. And I think your next meeting will presumably be, if you scheduled it, would be before town meeting, so you'd be in time.
I agree with that tact.
That's
Yep.
good. I
Does
have to
that-
depart. I'm sorry, guys.
All right, Chris.
I will see you right out.
Mike was,
Bye, guys.
All right. Thank you, Chris.
But does that make sense, everybody, to maybe make a
Absolutely.
few changes, and then you
Yep,
guys can
absolutely.
consider those revisions?
Yep.
yes, yes, yes.
Okay. So I'm gonna highlight that. Give me one second. Okay, update the town's zoning bylaw to promote a mix of uses in areas already served by public infrastructure. This hasn't changed. It's gonna be, you have existing infrastructure there. And this is along Route 114, so that hasn't changed. Everybody agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Focus business attraction efforts on opportunities which are consistent with the character of the community, which can be reasonably supported in appropriate locations within the town. Here you said in progress as well. Your notes say, as currently proposed, the development intends to address this. A number of questions regarding the overall scale of the project and the subsequent integration into the surrounding neighborhood remain uncertain and require follow-up. So I guess the question that you guys had here was like, whether it was technically, whether you could consider it consistent with the character of the community and which can be reasonably supported in appropriate locations. So I don't know if you think that's still an open question or if there's more definition around this that you're comfortable in recommending something else.
I don't think we have any definition as far as the business portion of the development at this juncture. I could be wrong. From both what I've read and seen, I don't think that anything's been determined yet.
Other than the hotel,
Other
which
than the hotel.
would be technically a business, but yeah.
Sure. But I think, from a commercial standpoint, I think it's too open-ended at this point that would warrant a change in status at this juncture.
Anybody else?
I'd say
No,
leave it.
I agree with John.
Yeah, I'd say leave it.
Okay, so we'll leave that open-ended. Unless anybody wants to pipe in. All right, I'll move on. Ensure existing commercial and industrial land is not converted to support only multifamily uses, but instead mix of uses. So obviously, it's a mixed-use development, so that's unchanged.
Right.
Bring your lunch.
Encourage the development of mixed-use buildings which support both residential and commercial uses. Again, mixed use still the same. Work with large landowners of economically important properties in town to identify an attractive mix of uses for the redevelopment of those properties. That's what's happening here, regardless of what you think about the project. This is, this is attracting a mix of uses and it's a redevelopment of the property.
Correct.
Evaluate sidewalk gaps and prioritize new sidewalks based on their ability to connect residents to schools, activity centers, civic spaces, and recreation and open spaces in town. So you say not applicable here. The development will provide a new outdoor space, but it will not serve as a major recreation destination for non-RC residents. There will be sidewalk connectivity to the proposed Route 114 corridor, but this does not fill an existing gap in the network. The only other piece of information I'll just throw your way is that there is a planned trail connection or to the school.
Okay.
What is this, the sergeant back there?
Franklin.
Excuse me.
Franklin.
Franklin School.
So that is called for as part of the plan. I don't know if that changes minds here, but I'm just letting you know.
The only other thing I would throw in, Andrew, is whether or not any of that area was recognized in the sidewalk connectivity plan.
Probably the closest one was the Hillside Road stretch when Chestnut Street breaks off of Hillside to that commercial strip mall.
Okay.
114 was a high priority in the data we were using, but we didn't include it because MassDOT's putting that in.
Okay. So then, yeah, I would keep that as is.
Okay. Others agree with that? Just leave it
Yeah.
leave it alone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think we're good. Yeah.
Okay. Couple sidewalk and crosswalk improvements with pedestrian scale lighting to increase visibility and safety. You say that conceptual drawings include street lighting, pedestrian and bicycle accommodations are key component of the proposed development. So you have that as a positive. So I don't think that's changed.
Nope.
We're almost done here, guys. I promise. work with MassDOT to incorporate welcoming and beautification improvements to the anticipated improvement project along Route 114. You have this as a positive. On-site landscaping will be included in the RC development, including the frontage along the property. The proposed MassDOT corridor improvements will provide grass strips between the roadway and the sidewalks shared use path. I'll also quickly say that the project itself is now preserving more mature trees in front of the property than when this iteration of the project was originally presented to you. And the buildings are stepped back a little further than was originally proposed as well. So I don't think this changes. I would, if you considered a positive then, I would assume you considered a positive now.
Exactly.
Yes.
Evaluate safety and congestion improvements along key roadway corridors, intersection improvements to promote safer travel speeds, improve safety at key intersections, and create a safer and more connected sidewalk network. You have this in progress. So what you say is the proposed MassDOT improvements along Route 114 will address roadway safety, including upgraded bicycle and pedestrian accommodation. Pending on-site design modifications and integration of Royal Crest driveways, particularly the main entrance, into the proposed MassDOT design, there exists the potential for significant improvements to the existing sidewalk network. So I guess, you kind of don't take a firm position here, but you have to, maybe you still don't. Do you think that this project contributes to creating a safer sidewalk network, for instance?
So the to which I would say is the big thing is until this project is in stone or approved, the traffic impacts, potential traffic impacts, in incorporation into MassDOT, the traffic impacts fall on the Royal Crest development and not necessarily on the 114 development at this juncture. So I don't know if we can truly state whether it's a negative, positive, or neutral at this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would say, this is my suggestion, and let's revisit it. But I would say that you should take a position at the neutral at the least, as opposed to in progress.
I'm
I
amenable
would
to
say that because what you know about the project is already out there. You either think it's going to do something to, or you would take a stance of non-applicable.
It's definitely applicable. It's just we can't. I would take a neutral tone because we can't fully evaluate at this juncture.
So why don't we do that?
I just say one of the problems is that I think some of these things contradict, or not contradict, but like within this, the Royal Crest to promote safer travel speeds. Well, yes, probably because there's more traffic. Improve safety at key intersections. Yes, I think it actually would be safer. Create a safer and more connected sidewalk. Yes, but include traffic counts. So there's going to be more traffic. So it's kind of yes and no. So it's kind of a hard one to put a positive or negative or on.
So I'm thinking neutral covers us because we can't. Yeah, there are positives, there are negatives, but we can't truly discern how much of each.
Yeah.
Maybe there should be an explanation. Yeah, neutral, but neutral that there will be positives in terms of connectivity and pedestrian, but there's likely to also be an increase in traffic, and how much of that is mitigated by the Mass DOT project and development agreements would be to be determined.
Do you guys want to say neutral on this?
Yes.
You agree with neutral?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just going to highlight it because this is another area where we're just changing this. And again, I think we can, before the next meeting, we can type up updated. I can help. I can work with Gene to type up some updated notes. You guys can approve those notes.
Okay, keep going.
Okay, improve MVRTA circulator routes and frequency of those routes as a way to increase ridership. You have this as a positive. Preliminary discussions have been held between RC and the MVRTA regarding the provision of public transit service to the development, including potential commuter bus routes to Boston. So they do say that, and I believe there's more there's provisions specific to this in the development agreement too, so we can update that.
Well, I think at the very least we take away the nothing definitive as of yet line because we've had more development on it, right?
I would say so. I mean, do others agree with that? I mean, I can be more specific as to what those things are in the notes the next time, but
Yes.
Yeah.
okay. Identify locations and create handicap accessible walking paths in natural areas and create management plans for each conservation area that address access for persons with disabilities. We have it as in progress. The current RC proposal includes internal walking paths. It is unknown if the walking paths will be accessible in accordance with 88 Mass AAB requirements. I did ask the project manager at the time if they would be accessible, and he said yes. I remember this question. But
I
we
have
can,
a hard time believing that they wouldn't be
Yeah, I
based on
agree.
design standards and how these things typically get constructed.
so we can so why don't we say let's revisit this. Let me confirm again with the developer, and then I can suggest an update to this based on what I get back.
Okay.
Does that sound fair?
Good.
Yeah.
Continue to consider the creation of more athletic fields to support youth sports, including potential for use of private property. This is a neutral. RC will only be available to residents, does not increase the sports field in town. So I guess the question ends up being, there are no fields at like Royal Crest right now, right? Like fields are not being taken away.
No,
So you
No.
can't consider it a negative, but you can't also consider it a positive in that regard either, because
there's nothing coming. It has no impact.
The only other thing I would say, Andrew, is and correct me if I'm wrong, that they said that the green that they're constructing would be available to the public or for public use. So that's the only thing I might change the language there.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was
but it's
gonna
not going to
suggest
be a
that.
designated like soccer field or baseball field that can be used for like a sports team.
Yeah, no, it's a publicly available green area, but it's not intended to be a recreational complex.
so I would say, unless this strategy is speaking specifically to athletic fields to support youth sports. So unless that is a youth sport usable field, which I don't envision it to be, unless I'm missing something.
No, I think it stays neutral.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
like I said, the
Yeah.
only thing I would change is maybe the explanation there.
Because it's not only available to, it is public, right, Gene?
Yes, I was going to suggest the same thing. Rather than residents, substitute public.
I would say I would take out the word only.
Right. I was going to do that next.
Sorry.
Okay.
I'm having typing issues here. Okay.
Okay.
Next. And I gotta hold on a second. I just gotta highlight this because I gotta change the date here. Okay. Develop a partnership between the town's historic sites, parks, and open spaces, and its performing and visual arts programs. Neutral. Potential that the open space being offered by RC could be used for cultural events or other community events. Could be a good opportunity for town, but unknown what, if any, funding will be given to support such events.
I think that's still neutral, right?
Hmm.
Nothing's changed.
I've spoken to the festival committee about this and it hasn't changed.
Provide appropriate facilities and services for an increasing aging population. You have a positive rating. The current RC proposal includes a market rate senior housing component. So that has not changed, although I will concede that the number of units for senior housing has been reduced, and I can go into more detail into what that is in this matrix. So if we keep everything the same, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 positives, no negatives that I can see. You have a
Right.
non-applicable, you've got an in progress, you've got another in progress, you've got a couple more non-applicables, neutral. So it's basically neutral, non-applicable, in progress at worst, positive at best. And again,
So, sorry, Andy, just something to add when you do the notes. I know you're going to go back and do them.
Yep.
I didn't say anything because of the time constraint, but on line 16 with the evaluate the safety, I do think that in the notes, when you put them out there, it should be noted that they're not putting in an overpass. I know it's going to be evaluated as it goes on, but
Yep.
the idea that we're adding hundreds of units, a hotel and dorms, and no overpasses even on the table, to me is a major issue for safety.
One thing I do want to mention in regards to that specifically, there in the in the pedestrian safety mitigation terms for the development agreement, there is a provision to say that, if it's required, if a pedestrian bridge is determined to be required, then there'll be, we'll move forward on that, and we can use the funding that they'll have provided
Yep.
us.
I know it's going to be reviewed, but to
yeah.
me, it shouldn't be reviewed in 3 years and money's taken away. It should be just done. But nonetheless, that to me is a safety concern from the jump. And I just want it noted in the little things on the side there when you put down the different things.
Okay. So,
I agree with Holly on that point. That's Sean.
okay, great. All right. So, in the interest of time, it's 10 after 6, or almost 10 after, it's 6 after 6. But what we'll do is this, John. I think that I think you and/or working with Stan, maybe if he's willing to, or somebody else if they want to volunteer, should draft a letter to town meeting. What you see here, because I don't want to be the guy drafting it, because I don't want it to seem like it's coming from, I don't want it to be coming from staff. I don't think it's appropriate.
Okay.
And I just basically give a summary of our evaluation.
And you guys would then review the final version of this based on some edits that we'll make between now and the next meeting.
Yep.
And the language in the letter, and then that'll be that.
I got something from what we started for last year's town meeting. I can use as a basis stamp. And,
Okay.
I can send that over. Yeah, I can draft something up and send it over.
Well, and I mean, mostly what we're trying to do here is we're trying to report on the fact that we had taken a look at this for last town meeting, and now based on the changes, we've taken another look at it. And
Yeah.
Here's our current evaluation. So.
Yeah.
And I guess I also would just go to the length of not of explaining that you're not making unlike some other boards and commissions in town, you're not providing a recommendation on action. You're just simply providing
an objective analysis.
an analysis based
an analysis, right?
The strategies outlined in the plan. Yeah.
Of the project relative to the master plan. Right?
Yep. I have some draft wording that I created previously that kind of hits on that. So
Sounds good. Okay.
Probably. And the other one, he said that box never should have been there.
Okay. Anybody else
No,
comments on that?
So
we're good.
okay.
Okay.
All right. So we'll in the interim. So for the next meeting, I'll have some kind of correspondence drafted up. We can present it to our group here at the next meeting. And we'll go from there. Speaking of which, we need to establish a date and time for the next meeting.
Before town meeting, right?
Yep.
What date's town meeting?
It is the 17th. Is that right?
17th. Okay, Tuesday the 17th.
So can I suggest also that, just another reminder, we can, do you guys want to keep meeting in person? I just want to confirm, or excuse me, keep meeting remotely, or do we want to shift to in person? I was wrong last time. I thought that I could sit remotely in the conference room and you guys could we could do a hybrid thing. We can't. It either has to be based. It's like our remote meeting policy is that only one person can be, a max of one person can be remote, and it can't be the chair if we were to do an in-person meeting.
I'm amenable to either, whatever works for the group here.
I mean, I'm fine. The only mitigating circumstance on doing a remote meeting is you just got to loop in NACAM, and if you're doing it before a select board meeting like you are tonight, you're constrained because they have to jump over to assist with that. That's the only constraint.
But I think for efficiency's sake, a remote meeting at least one more time before town meeting might be easiest rather than try to complicate the process.
Okay.
This format is most conducive for me.
Okay.
So let's. I don't think we need to vote on it necessarily. But
No.
let's just say we're going to do virtual next time.
And then after that, we can decide.
And your options, if you want to do a Monday, as you typically do, are the 2nd, which is less than a month from now, or the 9th. The 9th.
Andrew, we have that town hall on the 2nd.
Oh, you're right. Thank you. You're right. Hold for town hall. Yeah. Okay. So for me, at least, it would have to be the 9th. If it's gonna be.
Okay.
That works.
Yeah,
That works.
let's do the night.
Okay. And there is a select board meeting tonight, so we will be under constraint. So, John, I would probably confine this to just talking about.
Yeah, anything for town meeting or whatever.
Yeah.
And your correspondence. We can
Yeah,
just-
because I don't think we'll have much subject matter otherwise. So
Yeah, we're good. Okay,
All righty.
can we do it?
Yep. John, do you want to call for? Do you have anything else on the agenda, or do you want to call for?
I think we hit everything. So at this juncture, we set the date and time for next meeting. So just need a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn?
Second,
All right. Who do we have? Stan Lampert,
Yes.
Sean McDonough,
Yes.
Holly Williams,
yes.
Eton Goldberg,
Yes.
George Keller. Sorry.
Yes, I just joined.
And myself, John Strauss, is a yes. So with that, I think we are adjourned.